Yes, people, welcome back to another show with GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you guys are having a great day wherever it is that you may be in and around the world. Loads and loads to get into. Loads of breaking in the last sort of hour or so as well. Obviously, we're going to talk about Koulibaly. We're going to talk about Ronaldo. We're going to talk about Gnabry. We're going to talk about Kimpembe. We're going to talk about Sterling. We're going to talk about Colwill. Listen. The list goes on with the amount of news that we have to get into today. But guys, you know what I need you to do on each channel today? I need you guys to get us over 200 likes as quickly as possible, both on the GNA TV side and the Chelsea Fan TV side as well, as you are all slowly coming in. Lots to get into today. I want to get your thoughts as well in the chat. We'll be reading out some of your comments. Super chats are available both on Chelsea Fan TV and GNA TV as well. If you put your super chats in, then we will read them out and obviously bring answers to you. We will introduce Charlie in a bit as well. But before we move forward, let's cue that intro. Yes, people, welcome back to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV. Nice to see you guys again for another collab from both these channels for you as well. And lots to get into today, lots to speak on as well. There's over 120 of you here already. Thank you all for tuning in as we speak at the moment. But before we move forward, obviously talk to the chat and see how you guys are on before we get into things. I want to introduce Charlie with us. Charlie, how are you, my man?
Yeah, mate, very well. Thanks. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. Yeah, looking forward to getting stuck into it. As you said, a lot to go through.
Tons, mate. Tons to touch on, tons to talk about. We'll say hello to everyone in the chat as always as well. See how what everyone's up to. Ilias, big up to you, my guy. He says, run up them likes. Let's try and do what he's saying there. Texas, big up to you. Daniel Knight, Sammy from Chelsea Fan TV's in the chat as well. Big up to him. Surfs, Football Style, nice to see you. Jose, nice to see you as well. Zach, my boy Dan's in the house as well. Nice to see you. Who else got? Jose, big up to you. Luke, Martins, Harvey, Brad. I could be here all day, but I'm going to try and read as many of your names out. Hello. Dinishan, Brad, Aaron, Chelsea Database. Big up to you, my guy. I hope you will. Dinishan, nice to see you. We've got Abochi. Nice to see you, bro. Joey, boy, nice to see you, brother. Nice to see you in the chat. Hope you're well. Nims, nice to see you. Luke as well says Koulibaly's not a replacement for Rudiger. He's a long-awaited replacement for JT. That's how important he sees Koulibaly coming into Chelsea. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. Matt Smith, nice to see you. Henry, Chelsea fan. My boy Couch Critic is in the house as well. Nice to see you. Big Ron. Man, this just everyone's flying in, isn't they? Your average, Zach, I could be here all day. Kerry. Guys, I could sit here reading out and shouting you out all day, but we have so much to get into and talk about and discuss as well. But before we obviously move forward, obviously Charlie does have his own YouTube channel, so you can go and check him out as well. As we go through, I'll be adding a link throughout the show so you guys can check him out. It is called The Blues Brothers, and the link is in the chat for both of you. So GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV, you can go and check him out as well as we go through the show. Should we get into it, Charlie? Because there's a lot to talk about, isn't there? There is absolutely loads to delve into. So let's start with this quick news in and around Maatsen that we saw from Fabrizio Romano, because he's saying Burnley are set to sign Ian Maatsen on loan from Chelsea. The medical will take place today. Obviously, was that today? Is in today or yesterday? I can't remember when you said that. But as reported by McGrath Mike saying company wanted him as a priority. Burnley will pay Maatsen's salary until June 2023. And I suppose the real question here for you, Charlie, is does it really surprise you?
Nah, do you know what, mate? I'm not that surprised that Maatsen's going on loan. I thought potentially he could have got a Premier League loan because, you know, he was on loan at Coventry City last season, had a very good season. There was talks of him potentially going to Borussia Dortmund. I think he was close to a permanent move to Feyenoord in the Eredivisie, but he turned that one down. And I'm quite surprised to see him go to Burnley. I mean, no disrespect to Burnley. Yes, it's a bigger club than Coventry. They've just come down. He'll learn a lot from Vincent Kompany, for sure, you know, with his illustrious playing career, being a defender and stuff. But I'm a little bit surprised that, you know, Maatsen's someone that's thought of quite highly at Chelsea, that he hasn't perhaps got a Premier League move, even if it was to a newly promoted team or someone in the sort of the bottom 5-6 teams. I thought that perhaps might do him better. But who knows? This Burnley move could be good for him. But also given the fact that we do need wing-back cover, and yes, I know we'll get into it later. Matt Law saying that, in his latest article, we are looking to bring in a right wing-back cover for Reece James. I'm surprised that Martin's been allowed to go with sort of no replacements coming in, particularly with Aspilicueta maybe moving out and Alonso moving out as well. So, yeah, it'll be a good move for him, but I felt perhaps he could have got a Premier League loan.
Yeah, I agree with what to be honest, I agree with everything you said. I probably everything you said as well. It doesn't really surprise me that this has happened in many ways. Kind of expected in many ways. I know there's a lot of Chelsea fans out there that love Le Cobham and they want the academy to be pulled through and this, that, and the other. But I think people need to remember as well that it's fine bringing in certain individuals that are highly talented. You've got to look at what Lampard did with Reece James and Mason Mount. Obviously, with Mason Mount, he'd played with him over at Derby and he kind of saw that and brought it through with him. With Maatsen, and I feel like with all these other young players, and we're going to talk about Colwill in a bit as well, which is another topic we're going to get into. But I just feel with players like Maatsen, I just feel that they're not there yet. Even though when you look at the squad, you might think there might be an opportunity for them to come in and have a go. I just feel that they're not entirely in a position to come in and I don't know, start for Chelsea at this point. So for me, I think a loan deal would make sense. See how they do, how they get on. Look at Conor Gallagher. He's a great example of someone that's gone out with Crystal Palace in the Premier League and he's done quite well. Colwill was obviously played in the Championship. And now he's, supposedly we're going to talk about him in a bit. He could be looking to stay or go, which we'll talk soon. But this is no real big surprise to me as well. I do feel, though, that under the Boehly era that you will see a little bit of a difference in the way that obviously Roman, the Roman era was run when you look at how many players we loaned out. And we had probably one of the biggest loanee projects across Europe. But I do feel that may change. And they may, if they can make value on certain players that are of a very good ability or a decent ability, I think they will sell them. I think they will look at doing that at a later stage. So let's see what happens later with Maatsen as well. But we move away from him because there's so much to talk about. And I want to just quickly talk about Raheem Sterling because this is one that we were waiting to be announced. We get the announcement. Obviously, Fabrizio Romano comes out saying official confirmed Raheem Sterling joins Chelsea from Man City on a permanent deal contract until June 2027 with option of a further season. First sign of the Chelsea's new era with Todd Boehly as new owner. Obviously, there's a nice little image of him. There's been images being brought out on him on Chelsea FC website as well in a Dodgers shirt and this, that, and the other. I'll ask you a quick one on this, Charlie. I mean, obviously, it's one of them ones where we knew it was going to happen. There was no real competition for Raheem Sterling. But for you, summarising his ability and him coming to Chelsea, what do you think he'll bring?
I think it's a great signing. For me, mate, it's one of the biggest sort of intra-Premier League signings for me since Van Persie went from Arsenal to United. This is a big player, coming from Manchester City to Chelsea. This is not kind of a City squad player. This has been one of City's best players over the last 5-6 years. He's a phenomenal football player. Still only 27 years of age as well, He's got the best years of his career ahead of him. He's done very well for City, winning a lot of Premier Leagues, brings out winning mentality, brings leadership as well. I'm not sure if you've seen Mason Mount in an interview, I think the other day, saying how much of a leader Sterling is as well. So I think that could be vital as well. So I don't think we've got a lot of leaders in the dressing room at the moment. So that would be a big plus. His record speaks for itself, mate. Hopefully he's going to bring that directness. He's going to bring goals. He's going to bring assists. A lot of what's been lacking from the front line for a long time now. So hopefully he can add that. Yes, I'd like to see us add one more in that forward line. But I think with someone with his record, Premier League proven, which is a big tick of the box, I'm so glad that we're doing a lot of our shopping at the moment from within the Premier League. It makes a big difference from us going for the standard kind of big names in Europe. There's a lot of good talent within the Premier League. And, in terms of wide players, mate, available in world football now, of the required quality, there's very few actually better than Raheem Sterling. And for £47.5 million, it's an absolute steal. I think it'll be one of the best bits of business of this summer window in general. It's a really good signing. I don't know why some people are against it. I think it's a phenomenal footballer.
Do you feel that when you look at him being brought into the current crop of attackers that we have, do you feel that we may not see the best of him just because of the current crop, or do you think we need more to get the best of him? Would be a question.
It's a difficult one, that, because I think him coming in is going to raise the level of everyone else. I'm not saying he's like a footballing superstar, but he's someone that has achieved a lot in the game, one of the best in his position in the league probably even in European football as well. I don't think that's an exaggeration to say that. I think it will raise the level of everyone else. It's going to be tricky because obviously, yes, for England, he plays in that 3 at the back system under Southgate, but I do feel that England's 3 at the back with Southgate is a little bit different to Tuchel's. Can he do it? Yes, he can do it. I mean, I always think he's better, in that 4-3-3 system, kind of wide on the right and whatnot. He does a good job there. Yes, he can. He's versatile as well, which makes a big difference. Whether we'll see the best of him at Chelsea, I certainly hope so. But yeah, I think it's going to take a little bit of time for him to adapt, but he can certainly raise the level. And the big thing for me is it's a big improvement on what we've got already. And it should take some of the burden off Mount to constantly deliver every game.
100%. And that's true. I think the one thing that Raheem Sterling brings as a quick summary is that he brings the ability of maybe scoring them goals that maybe we struggled to finish last season. He does have it in him that he does miss chances here and there. We've seen it. But I think when you look at his, I don't think he gets enough credit in this country for what he's done up to this point. Like when you look at the model of player he always seems to be heavily criticised. There's always criticisms of the player he is in his in his footballing ability and vice versa. And I just feel that when someone scores 117 goals, I think it is, in the Premier League with 77 assists, for that is some serious numbers. It puts him third in the highest forward scored in the Premier League. This guy scores goals, and you could argue, yeah, it's Man City. He played with a great team. They created so much for him. I get all of that argument, 100%. But this guy, there's no doubt that this guy brings experience. He brings quality. And I also think he brings a bit of leadership. Something that we actually lack. Someone with a bit of mentality. Someone that's going to, when it's getting hard, when we're at home, we're playing that low block team and it's the 70th minute and we just need that one goal. Someone just to be the difference. I do feel Raheem Sterling can be that in them moments, but it's going to be important that we do play to his strengths, and playing to his strengths is making passes behind, playing it directly into him. He's very good at dribbling in tight spaces. He can make things, he can open the pitch for other players to run into, which helps as well. I think that's something we miss massively. And then what I love about him the most is his directiveness. He's so direct. He will always run behind. He'll always make, do you know what I mean? And I don't think we do that enough, or we don't have that enough in that current crop of forwards that we have. What did surprise me more than anything is how did no one leak these pictures before it even come out? Did you see the street? It was empty.
Mate, it's mad. You could never, ever in London, right, have a footballer and doing an unveiling photo shoot essentially in the street and no one notice anything. It's mad. It's in the middle of LA and they're just doing the pictures of Sterling and no one's doing anything. It's ridiculous. You just wouldn't see that in the UK.
No, you wouldn't. You definitely would not. Yeah, interesting stuff. I think he's a great signing. Whether he's able to play over the weekend, we will yet to be seen. He is training already, so there might be a good chance that he may feature at some point throughout the game. Maybe if it's a 20 minutes here and there. Problem is for me is all the games are in the mornings, aren't they?
So it's 2-3 o'clock in the morning kickoffs.
Yeah, it's an absolute nightmare, mate, in terms of that, to be fair. Big up to everyone else that is here. There's over 370 of you guys here at the moment. Big up to every single one of you guys that are here. Make sure we get all of them likes up. So, guys, let's try and get this over 100 likes as quickly as possible if we can. 76 likes on Chelsea Fan TV. Come on, there's 258 of you here, and there's over 115 on the GNA TV side with over 50 likes. Let's get this over 100, guys. Share on your socials as well. Just let people know that we are currently live today. Unfortunately, I don't know why. YouTube have not notified anyone that I'm going live. Usually they let people know when I'm about to go live. But today, they didn't want to do it. So it is what it is. It does happen. Charlie knows what it's like as well with YouTube. They can be a bit of a pain. But we move. We move from Raheem Sterling. And I want to talk about something that's kind of shaken up the Chelsea Twitter fan base at the moment. And it's the news in and around this guy. When I find him, this is a problem. You got so many.
Mate, a tab. Finding the right tab is a nightmare.
They go, where is it? I'll read this. There it is. It's not that one. 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 It's that one. What one is this that I've got open? Yeah, why can't I see that? Oh, this is a nightmare. I can actually see it, but like on my setup, I just can't see it on. That's not the one. That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. We'll get there, guys. Why is it not coming up? I'm baffed. Oh, right, there it is. Right at the top where I couldn't see it. We got there, guys. We got there. Yes, Colwill. Obviously, originally Fabrizio Romano brought out a comment saying that he's looking like Colwill wants to leave because he feels that he's not going to get the game time that he requires. And Thomas Tuchel and Bowley are not really going to hold back if he chooses to do so. And there was a potential of actually selling him. There was no talks about how they were going to do it, whether there'd be a buyback clause or whatever. But there was, potentials that we were going to basically allow him to leave to go and get more game time somewhere else. And it erupted, as you can imagine. All of the Chelsea fan base, the Lacobinists, come out and started slagging off Tuchel and moaning about his decision to do that and this, that, and the other. And today it seems to have calmed down a bit more. And we obviously see comments from Ben Jacobs, who we're going to get to in a second, but obviously Simon Phillips as well, who says that Colwill does not want to leave, not demanding to be an instant starter, but does want a fair shot and assurances of game time. Situation dependent on central back arrivals. Chelsea know his quality. A buyback would be inserted if sold. So a buyback would be inserted if sold as well. Charlie, where do you stand with this whole Colwill scenario? Do you think when you hear that Chelsea are looking for potentially maybe 3 centre-backs, it's not been confirmed yet, but it could possibly happen. Do you kind of understand the whole situation?
So it's a difficult one, mate, because, the academy, we've over the years, mate, with Chelsea, very rarely has the academy ever been used. We went from JT breaking through, and then for years and years and years, there was no one. There was Ruben a bit, then there was Callum. But then, obviously, the transfer ban, Mount and Reece James and stuff, that kind of pushed us on a bit. Yes, we've got a very good academy. But I think people need to realise that the academy is twofold. It's to provide players for the first team if they're good enough, but it's also to make a profit for the club as well. We will produce good football players, but not necessarily ones that are good enough to play for Chelsea week in, week out. I think in Colwill's case, I'm not going to pretend that I watched Huddersfield every week last season. I didn't. He's obviously a very good football player, 19 years of age. He had a very good season at Huddersfield last year. But let's make no mistake about it. Chelsea is a high-pressure club. You need instant success as a manager there. And for Chelsea, we need, Champions League proven quality centre-backs. And right now, Colwell's not that, And I don't buy into the argument that, he wants out because he's not going to play. I always think if you're good enough, you'll play. It's hard, though, as a youngster, because you've got family, you've got agents, etc. around you saying, perhaps it's best for you to go and play. You look at the most recent examples, Tamori, Tammy Abraham, Mark Goldbridge, Livramento as well. Colwill will see these guys. They've left Chelsea and they've gone and done very well for themselves. And he might think, well, I'm not going to get a chance. Then I can kind of go and do that. But I think we've got to make it very clear that, the club and Thomas Tuchel will do everything they can to keep Colwill. He's not going to play every game. I don't think he wants to play every game. But, even if he goes out on loan for a season to the Premier League, there is still a path for him. I know we'll get onto it, but say Ake and Kimpembe both come. Right, Thiago Silva is going to be 38 at some point in this coming up season. He's not going to play. He's not going to play every week. We're going to be playing 60 odd games again. There's 5 subs this season in the Premier League. There's going to be opportunity for minutes. And even if he was to go out on loan for a season and come back, this is going to be Thiago Silva's last season, I reckon, pretty much. And Colwill will definitely have a shot next season. He's got pre-season to prove himself. I think people just need to calm down and stop losing their shit over this. At the end of the day, not every single academy player is going to be good enough to play for the first team, And if you're good enough, you will play. And I get it. These guys don't want to be passed around, going out for loan every year, coming back for pre-season, going on another loan. But for me, Colwell's played no Premier League football. I'm sure he could get a loan move to a side like, maybe an Everton might take him, like under Frank Lampard, maybe like a newly promoted side, maybe a Fulham or a Nottingham Forest or something, You can go and get regular Premier League minutes and then come back next season and there'll be a decent slot in the squad for him. Because if we're being perfectly honest, he's not ahead of Thiago Silva. He's not ahead of Chalobah. He's not ahead of Koulibaly. He probably isn't ahead of Azpilicueta either in that centre-back place. And he wouldn't be ahead of Kimpembe or Ake. So we're looking at 5th or 6th choice here. And so you can't blame him if he wants to go out and get a few more minutes. But I think it would be a mistake to sell him. But I've got no issue with a loan or a sale with a buyback, as long as the buyback's not something too ridiculous. But yeah, at the end of the day, mate, the academy is this is people are making out this guy to be like some sort of god. I'm seeing like people saying that he's better than Nathan Ake. It's like, mate, this guy's never played a minute of Premier League football. Yes, the ceiling and the potential might be there, but I think people just need to calm down a little bit.
I think you're right. I do agree with what you said. I don't know what's happened to my Twitter, if there's a problem with Twitter, but I can't log into my Twitter. Everything's gone mad at the moment. I don't know if anyone else's Twitter is fine, but mine is not working whatsoever. Yeah, I agree. I think people do go a bit over the top, and I think emotions run wild, especially when it's someone that maybe they've watched in another league and they know that they've got the potential to come back and have a go, and they're not really given that chance. And I fully understand the whole going mad about it and not being happy and not being fair, and he should be given another chance and blah 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 blah. I get that. Where I do get it is, and I was going to ask you this actually, the Ake scenario, because some people are like, why are we buying Ake when we have Colwill? And it's like you're bringing back someone that we sold, but then you've got an opportunity to potentially give a young guy like Colwill a chance who could potentially be better than Ake. Why do we always have to spend money, especially on players that we weren't in theory good enough for this club, to bring them back, who potentially ain't going to start games, is going to be rotational, when you could maybe give someone like this guy an opportunity? Do you get that point?
Yeah, but the thing is, mate, this is in the Chelsea DNA. We always go and buy quality players. It's always been the case. As we say, only very recently have we actually seen academy graduates like a bit more of a clearer pathway to the first team. Chelsea's thing is to always go and buy kind of proven players. And for me, it's really tricky because the pressure is so high in this situation. In an ideal situation, like in a lower down team, say someone kind of maybe sort of bottom half of the top 10 or mid-table, you can take a chance and play an academy graduate most weeks because the pressure is not that high. The demand to win every week is not as big. Whereas at Chelsea, can you really take the gamble and just be like, oh, let's just chuck Colwill in for a few games, see as he does it? We need instant results, and we need players of the right quality straight away. You need that balance of experience, proven quality, and then you can have like a few rough diamonds like a Colwill, like a Chalobah to complement what you've already got. In terms of Nathan Ake coming back, it's a difficult one, isn't it, really? Because I think a lot of people's gripes with this one is, one, it's not really a big name. Two, is the fact that we sold him to Bournemouth a few years ago for like 20 million. We then had first option to buy him back on any future sale. We turned that down. He went to Manchester City. He's been okay at City. He obviously hasn't played anywhere near as much as I think he would have wanted to have done. But I've seen like a few City fans saying that, in terms of a squad player, they're quite disappointed if he was to move on because he does add quite good depth. He's versatile. I don't think he's a bad player. I just think a lot of issues that people have with this is because we had him before and we're buying him back. I'm not that much against Nathan Ake coming in, and he's definitely better than Colwill right now for sure.
I hear you, guys. There's over 650 of you guys here. Big up to every single one of you. I don't know, Charlie. I don't know if you could access your Twitter at the moment. I can't seem to.
Mate, let me have a look.
Because I can't seem to open anything at the moment, and it's like it's tired on me. I don't know what's going on.
Let me just give this a refresh and see.
Something went wrong.
Oh, yeah, no, I've got that as well. Something went wrong. Try reloading. Yeah, it's not working. Yeah, it's down, mate.
It's not just me, then it's panicking.
No, it's not really, it's not working, mate.
Yeah, all right, cool. Well, we'll have to play. I mean, I've got tabs open, so I should be provided I don't re-upload things. I think we might be right. So Twitter is down. All right, cool, guys. Wicked. Thanks. People will confirm in the chat. I want to go back to Chelsea Database's comment here. He says that 45 million for a fourth choice centre back at City doesn't seem right, though, especially if we get Kimpembe too. That's two left centre backs, so one on the bench when we can save money and have Colwill on the bench. That is the only part of it where I agree with it. But then it goes back to what Charlie says, which is it's just Chelsea's DNA. People were expecting Chelsea to give all these academy guys the opportunity, but let's be serious. Since Frank Lampard, who's actually done that? Who's actually pulled through? No, they don't do it. And what if they? Why they don't do it is. I don't know. They obviously they must feel that maybe these players ain't good enough. Sometimes you've got to bear in mind as well with Chelsea is that when you're a manager, and I'm going to talk more about the Roman era because that's what we've seen more up to this point. When you're a manager of this club and the pressures are to challenge, to compete, to do this, do that, you don't really have time in the back of your head to start giving youngsters the opportunity. So your only option is to use the money that you've been given. So they'll be given a budget each summer window, and it'll be, how do we improve this squad so that we can challenge quickly? It's not, it's not the other way around where it's a case of how can we, how can we build a project or a philosophy at this club and give it 3-4 years and give these guys. It's never been that. It's always been, right, I'm the manager. I need to act quickly. I don't want to get sacked. I'm going to buy players that I know suit my system. Let me just go and do that. But, this is why it's going to be interesting to see with the Bowley era, if it's going to be the same sort of thing. Is it going to be a case of, no, we'll give you the best players now, but we want instant success. We want you to be fighting at the top. Don't get me wrong, Thomas Tuchel's going to be one of them guys that wants to win things. I don't think he's the kind of guy that's going to want to hang around for ages and just be not winning anything. I think he knows that there's a rebuild in place, and it may take a little bit of time to get them to gel and get it where he wants it to be that beast again. But, I don't know. I think it's important to try and balance it, to be honest. I think you buy players, you strengthen in areas that are very weak, like the defensive area. We need to replace Rudiger. Bringing in Koulibaly, I think, kind of does that. Now, some people think Koulibaly will play off the right. We're going to talk about Koulibaly in a bit. But, this is why we're linked to Kimpembe. And this is why, for me, the Ake thing's kind of not gone, but it's sort of slowed down. We've been linked to Ake for a while. Why have we not just pushed this across the line? What's stopping us from just going?
I think from what I've read, mate, is that the 5-year deal and personal terms were agreed. I think a fee's pretty much, and I think apparently the hold-up is waiting on City to source a replacement before selling him. So, I mean, Fabrizio saying that Ake will happen. I think it's just the hold-ups that City's then to bring someone else in. But don't get me wrong, mate, it could just end up being Kimpembe and Koulibaly. We might not end up with all three.
That's true as well. That's the truth. And it goes back to, and we're going to get to it. We're going to move away from Colwill now. Twitter's still down. I'm trying to keep an eye on it as well. We're going to go away from Colwill, and we'll obviously keep you up to date more and more as it goes on as well. And we'll just quickly go back. We'll stay on Colwill, but we're going to go to the Ben Jacobs comments on this as well when I find it. There we go. So obviously he came out of a long statement. Guys, bear with us because there is quite a lot to go through. He says, with Colwill, he's not asked to leave just yet. But with 3 defensive incomings almost certain, he wants to understand whether he has a role, not just this season, but before deciding. Told no final decision and he's by no means pushing for a CFC exit. Only clarity over his future. Now, let's just quickly summarize them up per paragraph of what Ben's saying here, Charlie. That makes sense to me, right? If you're a young 100%. Player, you've not made a decision. You just want to know if you're going to be, involved or So it makes sense, right? There's nothing really surprising there, is there?
No, mate, nothing at all. You'd want them to be doing that.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that bit. And then we move on to more and more from Ben Jacobs. And he says here, Chelsea will get a healthy fee for Colwill if they do sell, just like when Mark Gay went to Palace. But I understand there is further internal and manager to player discussion needed before any decision will be made. So from my point, from reading that tells me that I feel Tuchel needs to see him over pre-season.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, he's always maintained, Tuchel, that he will assess all the kind of returning loanees in the pre-season before deciding what to do with them. So it includes Gallagher, includes Brojo, includes Colwill. And that's the right thing to do. See what they do in pre-season. If they've got enough about them and show enough, there'll be a space for them in the squad. If not, then they can decide to permanently leave, or they can go out on loan and come back next season and see if anything's changed.
Exactly. And for me, I think it also might be an answer to the whole 3 central back situation.
Yeah.
Do we get 2? Do we get 2 and maybe keep Colwill and use Chalobah? And, it's not like we haven't got players there. Malang Sarr's there. I know we don't want him there, but he's there. Do you know what I mean? Like, there is options there, is what I'm saying. So maybe is it a thing of, do we just review it through the pre-seasons before just buying these players? Tuchel and the player, after they've had these games and Tuchel's analysed what he feels is the right way to move forward, sit down, have a discussion about it. Yeah, I think you will play. However, you won't play 40 odd games with us, as you're probably aware. You'll probably play some cup games, a bit of rotation. If there's injuries, I will look to you as well. If he does that and I'm Colwill, I would want to stay, because you're going to be playing with the likes of Thiago Silva. You're going to be playing with the likes of Koulibaly. This is untelling experience. This, like, the amount of experience that you could pick up from just these players, Charlie, is crazy. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, I know you need game time to improve your game, but I would sacrifice a season if I'm being told that I'm going to be in and out of games. You are going to play certain games here and then. If there's injuries, you will be called upon. I'd rather take that risk as a young player and learn from these players around me and train with them day in, day out, than to send myself back to the Championship.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. Mate, honestly, for Colwill, if he decides to stay at Chelsea and he plays, say, 15, 20 games in the season, that'll be great experience for him. Plus, as you said, mate, you couldn't, there's not two better centre-backs, really, that you could learn from. Thiago Silva, who's done it all in his career. Koulibaly, who's a phenomenal centre-back, These are two of the best you could possibly learn from. You could pick up so much stuff. And even if Azpilicueta decides to stay, he probably won't. But if he did end up staying, think how much he can learn from these guys. So it's twofold. As you say, about at 19 years of age, it's not really sacrificing a season either. It's just part of your development. A season in and around the squad, he could show that he can do it, and then potentially the following season, the 23-24 season. He might have more. He might have more of a space to kind of be ready and bed himself in, because unless it's a Premier League loan, there is no point Colwill going out on loan to the Championship again.
Yeah, I mean, Ollie Joe says we're losing 3 players who played centre-back for us last season, and even then, we had crap cover for Rudiger. There's still space for him to get games, 100%.
And 5 subs as well. So there's plenty of minutes to go round with more changes as well.
Guys, keep getting your questions in the chat. We will bring them through. There is the options for super chats as well on GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV. If you put a super chat in, we will obviously prioritise them more, and we'll get through them and answer them as well. At the moment, we currently have 77 likes on the GNA TV side. Guys, let's get this over 100. Please, everyone, hit that thumb. Hit the little bell notification. And if you're new, please subscribe to GNA TV as well. Chelsea Fan TV, guys, please do so if you can. And Chelsea Fan TV, we have we have 500 of you guys here. Big up to every single one of you guys over at Chelsea Fan TV. Nice to have you all here. 160 likes. We can get this over 200. We've still got Cristiano Ronaldo, Kimpembe, Koulibaly, Gnabry. We've got lots to still go through on the show as well, so stay tuned with us. But like I said, guys, let's try and get these likes up and subscribe on both channels if we can. Please subscribe on both channels. Also, like I said, please check out Charlie's channel as well, the Blues Brothers. I'll put the link in the chat for you guys to go and subscribe to him as well. You will find me over there on there as well with him a couple of times once I get time to go over there with him. So yeah, definitely make sure you go and check him out as well. The link is there for you guys to have a look. Big up to Dan. He says, not sure if Cole can play as a wing back, but maybe Tuchel can try and get him to adapt into that position, as we need a lot of depth there. I've not watched enough of Colwill to actually really give a good answer as of where I think, whether he's versatile enough, if that makes sense. I don't know about you, Charlie, if you've watched enough of Colwill to know if he's versatile.
Mate, I've got to be honest, mate, like you, I've not watched enough of him. I don't believe he's a wing back at all, but I mean, could they look at that in pre-season? Quite possibly, but yeah, no, I don't have any kind of knowledge on Colwill other than the fact that he's a centre back essentially. But I think that's part of the reason, sorry mate, why that Ake deal is quite appealing to Thomas Tuchel, because of that versatility. I know 45 million pounds would be a lot of money to spend on a backup left back, but the fact is, as we mentioned, there's a lot of minutes to go around this season. Ake would get plenty of minutes in the back three, and he'd get minutes at left back as well. So I kind of think that maybe the part of the appeal to that is it kind of addresses 2 issues with one signing. I'm not saying he'd be amazing there, but it does provide the cover we need. And probably spending 45 million on that to cover 2 places is cheaper than signing a centre back and then a specialist backup left back.
Bro, 100%, mate. Bro is more of a challenge since Albanian's open to leaving if he isn't given more instant game time at CFC. Chelsea always wanted to access him in pre-season and are now doing that. But he's had 2 loans and scored 6 EPL goals. Plus, there's a high level of interest for Broha. A quick one on Broha. What would you do with him? I mean, we haven't got any out-and-out strikers. We've only got Havertz. do you feel we should really maybe just keep him on for the season, see how he gets on and utilise him? Or?
I'm not really sure. I mean, his first loan, obviously, out to Vitesse. I mean, I've got no idea how he did there, to be perfectly honest. Obviously, at Southampton last season, he started pretty well. But then, second half of the season, particularly, I thought he was poor. He didn't really do anything. Yes, I know he's still young, but to me, mate, he didn't show anything to suggest that he could come into the Chelsea squad and do a job. It's totally different leading the line to Southampton than it is leading the line for Chelsea. Different pressures, opposition play against Chelsea in a different way. For me, mate, he's one of those that I wouldn't be disappointed if we just got 30 mil for him and just moved on and reinvested it in other options within the squad. I just don't think he's really of Chelsea quality, if I'm being perfect. I was like, it could turn out I'm totally wrong on that, and I hold my hands up. But as things stand right now, he's not going to get instant game time at Chelsea, and I just don't think he's of the required quality to push us forward and close that gap.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, I like Bro. I think there is something there. I think it's still very early to call on him. Is it a good opportunity to give him a chance now? Potentially, when you look at what the current crop of forwards we have to see it go. Ultimately, it looks like he may go to AC Milan. We will need players there, especially with injuries with people like Christian Pulisic and others that we know pick up injuries quite neatly. So I get what you're saying. It just depends on, again, what we do in the summer window. If we go out and buy a Gnabry, who we'll obviously talk about in a bit, or, someone else, I don't know, then obviously it makes it a little bit more harder to look at someone like Broha. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see really what happens at a later stage with him. But there's a lot of interest as well. Chelsea generally haven't made up their mind what approach to take with either player, and that's normal given how early we are in pre-season. But a key point with young talent to remember is it's not only what the club wants. It's a good point, actually, to be fair as well. Player demands, players' requirements. Look at Tomori, look at Mark Gay. They went on, they've gone and done their thing. It's worked. Some others, like Solanke, didn't work. So as much as we always let these guys go. Why do we never give them a chance? There has been many that we've let go and it just hasn't worked. Do you know what I mean? It hasn't worked for them and they're not just at that level. And I think we just got to accept that when you have such a big loanee system like Chelsea do have, or a current crop of players, of young players that like Chelsea have, then it's going to be very hard to fit them in a squad that's been invested in, especially when you're spending dough, do you know what I mean, like 50s and 60s and 70s and 40, whatever, do you know what I mean, meals on these players to come in. They're going to want to start. They ain't coming here just to sit on the bench, so I think it's good to have that like challenge, like when you think of the old Chelsea teams, you think of the strength in depth. I remember in midfield once, we had Deco, Ballack, Essien, Lampard, Mac. Do you remember that?
Mate, it was mad. We even had Good Johnson doing bits in there as well. It was phenomenal.
It was phenomenal. I don't mind. I actually prefer to have that. I'd rather have competition around the pitch, but it wasn't youth. It was just pure quality. We just
even players like Thiago. He wasn't like a big player, but he did a solid job for Chelsea in there.
Yeah. The fuck is this comment here? Why do you keep? What is this? Where are Gerald's trainers, bro? Oh my god, Gerald's. I don't know who Gerald is. Don't be talking about Edwin, mate. Stop trolling. Stop writing the same thing in the chat. I don't know what you're doing. Let's move on. Some young players are happy to wait. Some young players are happy to wait because they believe there is a clear first team pathway, but many clubs, not Chelsea specific, are vague at offering a roadmap, and that can influence the young player's decision. Okay, fair enough. It makes such a big difference to a young talent and what they ultimately decide when the manager is approachable, and willing to engage. In this case, Tuchel is doing exactly that with Colwill and Broha. More clarity will come out of it. Do you know the one thing I do not worry when it comes to Thomas Tuchel? I just think his man management skills are very good. I think he's already shown that.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like he would leave these players in the dark. I think he's very straight to the point. I think he would be like, look, I want you. He'll put his arm around you if he wants you. He'll make you feel important. He'll bring the best out of you. Why we've attracted the likes of Koulibaly and Sterling, I feel is Tuchel.
Yeah,
to be honest,
it's conversations with him.
Yeah, conversations, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. It is going to grow a bit later on with the academy. We'll learn more. I did say pre-season is a big step, and there's a lot of players in there that are getting Ampadu's in there as well. You know, there's like Billy Gilmore in there. You know, there's a lot of players in there that are going to be fighting for a reason to be given a chance to stay in the squad. And Tuchel's got a hard job to pick because whatever ultimately he chooses to do, he's going to ultimately piss off someone, isn't he? When you think about it,
It's always the way. It's always the way.
You know? It is always the way. Why do people keep saying, "Where are my trainers?" What is going on here? Is this something? Is this a private joke or something? Guys, what are you doing in the chat? Anyway, let's move on. We're going to move on to saying that came out today, actually, and it involves Cristiano Ronaldo and the news in and around him. Fabrizio Romano came out saying Thomas Tuchel has decided against Cristiano Ronaldo signing. As things stand, George Mendes had talks with Todd Bowley, but the final decision has always been up to the manager. Chelsea are now focused on different deals. Tuchel isn't keen on Cristiano Ronaldo. And that, for me, is a sign of relief. I don't know about you, Charlie, because when it was all announced that Chelsea were in talks and whatever, this, that, and I still had the confidence that Tuchel wouldn't accept it. And the reason I said that was because by bringing a player like Ronaldo in, just tells me you have no plan moving forward. You literally just have no plan of what you want to do. So what are your thoughts on this news?
Mate, look, don't get me wrong. Part of me would have absolutely loved it, you know, to have a Ronaldo shirt, Chelsea hanging up in the background. It would be great for off the pitch stuff. Yeah, fantastic. Commercial, all that stuff, great. But you know, it was never going to work out, was it? Let's be perfectly honest. You know, it's what I'd say is it is short-termism at its finest. It's the sort of thing that Chelsea would have done under Roman Abramovich. It's the kind of signing that he would make. And for Tuchel, I'm glad that he's kind of said no to it. It's short-term, as I said. And realistically, yes, he'd score goals, but I think it would set us back a season or two. You know, he'd want regular game time. Would he fit in the system? Would he press, etc.? No, probably not. So, yeah, whilst, you know, all right, from a kind of a fan perspective, it's a little bit disappointing because you'd love to have footballing superstars at Stamford Bridge. The main thing is that Tuchel staying true to his values and the direction that he's taking the side in. And as you said, mate, you know, bring Ronaldo in at 37 years of age. Where's the direction of the club from there?
100%. And that would be my biggest question mark with him. Tuchel just throwing people off the scent, last minute bid for Ronaldo incoming is what Josh is saying. You're praying, mate. Come on, don't be praying for Ronaldo. It don't make no sense. Ronaldo definitely wants to play Champions League. Imagine not seeing Ronaldo play UCL. Well, you know, if he doesn't, he'll be in Europa, isn't it? Is what it is, especially if he stays with Man United. Get Liao is what Sophie's saying as well. Yeah, look, I've given my thoughts on this. I've said for a long time that I just it didn't make sense to me. It was one of them ones that just doesn't add up. Facts, short-term fix, sure, long-term problems will come though, exactly. And when you think about his wage roll, right, you might get him for 14 mil, whatever, and he will score goals. I don't think that's the way we should be going. When we say when Tuchel said, I want to rebuild doesn't mean bringing Cristiano Ronaldo. That, for me personally, like that don't make no sense. I know it's a dream for many people. Cristiano Ronaldo playing for the club. It's a bit like the Messi scenario. I get that Neymar scenario, but for me, it's a definite no go. We've got this comment here as well from Mr. Pies, which is to do with the Ronaldo scenario, but also to talk about right wing back as well. Chelsea will also look to add a right wing back to the squad to cover for Reece James. I have managed to get that article up as well for you guys. So let's go and fly into that article very quickly. There's over 900 of you guys here as well. Make sure that we're smashing the likes, guys. Let's get this up to 200 likes on both GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV. 550 of you guys on Chelsea Fan TV. Let's get this to 300, guys. Let's do that. Subscribe to both channels, GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV as well. 330 on GNA TV. Big up to all of you guys as well. But our likes are low, guys. 113 likes. If you haven't hit that thumb, please hit that thumb now. Please hit that thumb. We've got Koulibaly to talk about, Gnabry as well. So big up to Kavkas, man. Alexis is in the house as well. He says, let's go. Please subscribe. We've got an article here from the Telegraph, obviously via Matt Law, which was brought out earlier today. And it says, Chelsea gains interest in Cristiano Ronaldo with focus on team and not individuals, which is something I like to hear. Chelsea have ditched The interest in Ronaldo following talks with Thomas Tuchel and Conor Todd Bowley. The possibility of Chelsea making a bid to sign Ronaldo was raised when Bowley met the George Mendes, but we just spoke about that. Bowley was also clear that he would not try to sign Ronaldo without receiving the blessing of Tuchel. And that, for me, is a blessing in itself. When you think about in the past, what were board signings? What were manager signings? You know, we always felt that the board had a big answer in who comes in. And ideally, Tom Lee didn't really fit what the manager wanted. And the manager was kind of forced to play him in. This is a fresher breath air in many ways for me when you read that. The Blues have now discussed the subject and it's understood that Chelsea will not bid for Ronaldo. That's fine. Bowley had briefly intrigued by the prospect of making a move for him, but has backed away following the talks with Tuchel, who is understood to want the focus to be on his team rather than the individual. How does that feel when you hear that, Charlie, if that's true? Tuchel looking at building a team rather than bringing certain individual players, with big names.
It's the right thing to do, and it's what you want to hear as a fan. You know, yes, all right, he's a big name in football, but at the end of the day, mate, you've got to look to the future and build a team for the next few years. And as we said, signing Ronaldo is not building for the next few years; it's building for one season only, and then you're kind of starting again. So yeah, I don't have a issue of that, and yeah, it's a really good thing that Tuchel's come out and said that.
100%. It goes on to also saying that the sign of Ronaldo would have also taken the attention away from Sterling, who Chelsea's new owners Tuchel see as a marquee signing for the club. Do you see Sterling as a marquee signing, or do you think it's just... I find it a bit of a weird one, isn't it?
Do you know what? It's difficult because he's a top player, but I get what people mean. When you sort of talk about marquee, you sort of think about big names. And for some reason, Sterling doesn't really seem to be thought of in like the top bracket of footballers. You know, Sterling is a big signing, but at the same time, it doesn't really have that marquee feel around it. You're just thinking like, okay, it's a good signing, but like it hasn't got sort of a lot of excitement around it, like someone like a Ronaldo coming in with, or like, you know, another big name in football would. So yeah, obviously we love the Sterling signing, but yeah, it doesn't really have a big signing feel about it. But yeah, it's a strange one really, because it is a very good signing.
People saying Twitter are back, but I can't get into Twitter still.
Oh, mate, let me have a look. I don't think I'll have a quick look.
It's telling me no, basically. I don't think it is back. People saying it's back.
Mate, I can't get in.
I can't get in, guys. Still can't get into Twitter. This signing of Ronaldo. United have maintained that the 37-year-old who has missed the club's pre-season tour is not for sale. Well, he must want to leave because he's not even travelled for pre-season. So I'm not too worried about it. Chelsea could still look to add to their forward options, is what he said here. Koulibaly, who we're going to talk about in a minute, has obviously signed and is on his way across to the USA. Tuchel ideally wants 3 new central defenders with Kimpembe, who we're going to talk about in a bit. If Chelsea are successful in landing all of their defensive targets, Azpilicueta may be allowed to leave the club, who apparently supposedly is looking to sort of force a move to Barca, but at the same time doesn't want to do that until we sort ourselves out, which is nice of him in many ways. Bowley has promised Tuchel as many as 6 new players this summer, and Chelsea will also look to add a new right wing back to their squad to help provide cover for Reece James. Chelsea will offer new contracts to James, Mason Mount and Mendy as the new owners, who also attempt to rebalance the club's wage bill, which I think is so important. The club's wage bill is completely and utterly diminished. But on top of that, we need to get rid of the likes of people like Ross Barkley. You know, we've still got Bubba Rahman on the books. Like, get rid of these players, man. Do you know what I mean? That will help. Other than working on the squad, Chelsea announced on the arrival of Man City's executive Tom Glick at the club, new chief executive, and he will take charge of non-football operations, which we're aware of as well. So there you go, guys. Ronaldo talk seems to have gone out the window. But we'll have to see what happens moving forward. Guys, make sure you're smashing the like, subscribe to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV as well. Let's get these likes over 200. I mean, 300 for 300 for Chelsea Fan TV. Let's get this over them. And also the GNA guys, let's get this over 200 likes, guys. We've only got 130 likes. Let's get these likes up, please. Get these likes up. We are going to delve into next, quickly, Gnabry. News in and around Gnabry. So Fabrizio Romano has said this. Despite Chelsea's approach this week, Gnabry is still giving priority to Bayern's new contract proposal. He's attracted by the last contract bid and talks are progressing. Chelsea are really interested in him, but Gnabry is discussing with Bayern. Is this another case of Dembele, do you feel, Charlie, that it looks like he wants to just stay where he is? It doesn't seem like he really wants to entertain anyone else.
It's a difficult one because obviously it got 1 year left on his contract. He wasn't going to sign the proposal on the table, but I think I've seen something. I can't remember who it was by, but if Lewandowski leaves, like that kind of opens up that spot for Serge Gnabry. So he'd be more inclined to stay if Lewandowski leaves. But I think if it stays how it is and Lewandowski for some reason ends up staying, then I think there's a real opportunity. And for someone of his quality, 26 years of age, Champions League experience, German international, he's a top player. I think Matt Law was reporting a couple of days back in his article that German media were saying he cost around £34 million, which for a 26-year-old who's got his track record in the game, it's a phenomenal piece of business. I'd love it to happen, but I can't help but feel it's another one of those things, perhaps agents using Chelsea to try and, get a little bit more out of Bayern, and he wants to stay anyway. But yeah, mate, I'd like Serge Gnabry to come to Chelsea. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But then you think, all right, if it's not Gnabry, Rafa Leao is going to be too expensive. I can't see that happening. But you then think, well, are we going to bring another attacker in? It's not going to be Ronaldo. It's not going to be Rafa Leao. It might not be Serge Gnabry. Then where does that leave you? It's. I think Chelsea will do what they can to get him, but ultimately it's down to the player.
You think Serge Gnabry suits the Chelsea system? And who would you? I mean, I don't know. There's not many options out there when you think about it. But who would you prefer to bring to the club? Would it have been a Dembele or a Rafinha? Or
it's interesting, isn't it? Because Rafinha, who obviously we had the bid accepted for us, he's gone to Barcelona yesterday. He's kind of a completely different profile to what Serge Gnabry is. So you almost feel like kind of what's the plan? What are we looking for in this next wide player that's coming in? I mean, I would have loved someone like an Ousmane Dembele to come in. Unfortunately, that's not happened. But yeah, it's a strange one. Do I think he'd fit the system? Yeah, I think he probably would. Obviously, he's German, so he's not going to have any problems settling in communication-wise with Tuchel, or I'm sure he can speak English as well. I think he's an exciting player, mate. Has he much experience playing free at the back? I'm not too sure. I think Germany might play free at the back, but I'm sure he could adapt to it. But yeah, mate, I'd be happy with this sign. I think he could do a decent job there for sure. But I think there's still a long way to go on this. And ultimately, I still do think he'll end up staying at Bayern.
Yeah, fair enough. I think I do want to see another forward personally. Whether it gets done or not, I don't know. Twitter is back up and running, guys. I am flying through it at the moment, so it is back. If anyone is wanting to know that as well, it's going to be interesting because I think Rafinha and Dembele ultimately would have been the choices. When you think about the creativity element, Rafinha can create, Dembele can create. How many other creators are there out there for us to go and purchase? I don't know. Gnabry's more for me better on the outputs, but in front of goal. But being direct and being in front of goal and finishing off, which is something we actually need. Someone that can actually finish. Do you know what I mean? Quite comfortably. I don't know if I wouldn't say he's more of the creator. It's a weird one because you have Hakim Ziyech there still, and whether he stays or goes, it looks maybe like he'll go AC Milan. He should be that. Does that make sense? He should be the one that should be creating. We shouldn't have to be looking for that creative spark. I just don't know if Hakim Ziyech is that guy. Obviously, someone's mentioned, should we trust Cho? What's your thoughts on that? Because he looks a lot more pumped up and built, doesn't he? In training, it's a little bit different.
Mate, it looks like he's been on that Bayern Munich gym diet. He's put on some size. He looks good. And again, I think people forget that Cho's still only 21. It feels like he's been around for years, but he's still 21 years of age. There's so much growth and so much development for him ahead that, this is a massive season for him. He's got to stay fit. I think that's the big thing. He's got to stay fit. We've seen it in glimpses last season when he had that run of 8-9 games in a row in and around Christmas time, where we had the injuries and stuff. He actually did really well. He just needs consistent minutes. Will he get consistent minutes at Chelsea? No, probably not. But I think, it's a big season for him. I think he'll stay at the club despite there being murmurings about him going out on loan. I still think he'll end up staying. I think Raheem Sterling coming for him, there's not many better people that Callum could learn off. I'd love him to stay and be a success. I really would. But this is a big season for him. We've seen it. He's got that directness. He takes people on. He can create. All right, his finishing needs improvement. But at 21 years of age, there's not many people that are the complete article. I think with young players, people get a little bit misled, with likes of Mbappe and Haaland, that, it's the norm for these players to be that good at that age. It's not. Cho will get better. And it's a massive season for him. I would like to see him get a decent opportunity in the side, but ultimately that is going to be down to him. But I think it's clear that Tuchel does really like him.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I hear you. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, really, isn't it? I wouldn't like to predict where and what or where we go next. There's talks about Chelsea looking to sign at least 5 or 6 players. It'll be interesting to see if we're going to do that. I mean, how quick we've got Koulibaly in, who we're going to come to next, guys. But make sure you're smashing the like buttons. As always, over 850 of you guys here. Big up to every single one of you. David from the Football Terrorists is here as well. He says, I think it will be Kimpembe or Ake. I agree with you on that, by the way. And we're going to talk about Kimpembe after a little bit of talk on Koulibaly, which we're going to be sent Koulibaly on loan. That ain't happening, mate. Why would we? That would happen. My Twitter, good point. I never put my Twitter out. I should actually fill it out for you guys. I'll quickly copy and paste it. If you want to follow me on Twitter, guys, there it is. CFC_gem. Just put that on Twitter, and there you'll be able to find me and add me on there as well. Let's get into the Koulibaly news, because we haven't actually ain't spoke to you about Koulibaly, actually, so it'd be good to actually get your thoughts on this. Obviously, Fabrizio Romano come out saying that he's landed in London, set for a medical test, then he will fly to Los Angeles to join the team. Plans 100% confirmed. Chelsea will reveal Koulibaly as the new signing. Napoli and Chelsea are checking and signing the contracts right now. What's your thoughts on this one? Because I feel that most of the Chelsea fan base are quite happy with the replacement of him being like a replacement for Rudiger. Some feel that he may play off the right and not the left. There's no doubt that he's got all the experience. He's 31. Some people saying he's old. That's more of the rivals being a bit salty, saying he bought himself a guy that's 31 on a 5-year contract who does that. But what's your thoughts on Koulibaly?
Well, I think it's such a good signing. It feels like it's one that's been in the making for years and years. This guy was like linked with moves away from Napoli pretty much every summer to the Premier League. And finally it's happened. And it's like, mate, we've moved so fast on this one as well. We're not used to seeing Chelsea be this efficient in the transfer market. We normally see things take so long. But under Bowley, we seem to be moving at pace. And as soon as it became clear that, the Ligt deal wasn't really viable, he prefers Bayern, we scrapped that, went straight into Koulibaly, moved fast and got it done. And, 31 years of age, mate, that's young. That's still quite young for a defender. We to spend 40 million euros, which is about 34 million pounds on someone that's going to be at the club for 3, 4, 5 years. That's a phenomenal piece of business. Both him and Sterling coming in for less than 100 million pounds. That's the sort of business that we should be doing, not paying over the odds for players. I think he's got great leadership qualities. He's proven he can do it. He's won with Senegal. He's done very well at Napoli. He's very much a one-club man. He knows Edouard Mendy as well. So instantly, straight away, there's a strong connection between goalkeeper and centre-back, which is really important. But I think this signing ticks all the boxes. He's good on the ball. He's got good passing. He's great defensively. It's everything you'd want in a player. I literally can't think of sort of one negative aspect of this deal at all. As you said, he can play at a 4. He could also play in a back 5, back 3. He plays off the right, but he can, he's right-footed, but he can play so well off the left as well. So it ticks all the boxes. I honestly can't give a single down point to this deal. I think it's great in every sense.
Do you feel that it? Because again, Twitter is a funny place, but some people saying, yeah, he gives you the option to switch to the 4. Some people saying, no, you can't do the 4 with him because Thiago Silva and him as the 2 central backs will get overrun by the quicker teams or the better teams. Do you worry about that? You look at the ages of both Silva and him next to each other. Not really.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but then again, there's no harm in putting. Say if Kimpembe signs, he can just play at the back with Koulibaly or Ake or whatever, or Chalobah. It doesn't have to be Koulibaly and Silva every game. If it's a pacier side, you probably wouldn't see both of them play. So that there are options to kind of to counteract that. So I don't see that being an issue. And I also think it's great that we seem to be moving away from the fact that, you know, for years, well, under Roman, Chelsea always, it doesn't matter what player you were, as soon as you hit 30, it was always only 1 year rolling contracts. Now we're seeing, yeah, great, Koulibaly straight in. I think it is 5 years, but it's a 4+1. It's nice to just have that security tied down so we're then not in 2 or 3 years' time having to try and renegotiate. We're just getting it done. And yeah, mate, as I said, he ticks all the boxes. And I can't find a single downside to this one.
Yeah, I think he's a great signing. What impressed me more than anything, sorry, just writing something. What impressed me more than anything about this is how quick we got it done. You know, it was like De Ligt was the one. Bayern came along, started, you know, supposedly offering more. He then had his mind swayed to them more than us. We didn't want to offer that 80 to 90 million plus, which is fair enough. And then it was like, all right, fine. You know, you just want to have him. Koulibaly, all right, there you go, 40 million euros. And it was like that. That's what it felt like, you know. And let's just quickly talk about Todd Boehly. I mean, in such a short space of time, being thrown himself in the deep end in a sporting industry that he's new to, right? It's completely different to what he's doing with the Dodgers with baseball now. But to be doing what he's doing now in football and throwing himself in the deep end and on the phone, and you've seen comments from Leeds and other people that have already spoken to him and had negotiations with him and said he doesn't hide anything. He's not a bluffer. He's just straight to the point. He's a friendly guy. He gets things done and he's serious. If you want something, he'll say you want it and he'll give you what he seems like a man of his word, and that's what people are saying about him. What are your thoughts on Todd Boehly and his movement so far in the market?
I think he's in a breath of fresh air. You know, as you say, yes, he's got experience running sports teams with baseball and stuff, but football is completely different in the way it operates to baseball. He's come in, you know, he's done his due diligence. He's jetting off everywhere. He's meeting, you know, prominent people within the game. He's meeting them in person. You know, he's establishing relationships. He's moving fast. You know, he's standing his ground. You know, as you say, with De Ligt and Bayern, etc. You know, he's not wasting time. He's not wasting time. You know, if someone's not interested, that's fine. We move on and we go to the next target. And I think the fact that we're negotiating sort of with more than one player at once, like when the first target or whatever seems to become unavailable, because we're quite advanced with the second one, it can then take place so quick rather than just negotiating one at a time. And then you're suddenly like, oh shit, this one's fallen through. We need to find another one. So yeah, for me, mate, I've been so impressed with how he's operating, and it's a breath of fresh air because we're just not used to this with Chelsea. We really aren't. We're used to things dragging out, taking so long, haggling for a couple of mil here and there. It's just so refreshing to get in and get done. And Boehly just, you know, he takes no prisoners. He sees it how it is, and he'll get the best deal possible for the club.
100%. And you know, the most important thing is that being active. I think a lot of Chelsea fans were worried at the beginning. We're not doing nothing. What's he doing? Why are we not announcing? Why is Sterling taking so long? I think you're starting to see Chelsea in action now. I think you'll start seeing players throwing through the door. Why that is the case? Maybe because they're ultimately they're just narrowing down the decisions. What I think Todd Boehly's done is I think that he's had his fingers in many pies. And I think that he's been negotiating not with only one, but 2, 3, 4 different types of players in certain positions, like centre-backs, maybe even forwards to a degree, trying to find out if there's any interest there. And on top of that, he's been building relationships with other clubs. Now, building relationships with other clubs helps you in the long-term side of things, is because if they do bring in that next big messy prospect who's not able to, you know, fulfill whatever it is that he wants to fulfill at that club, and they want that next step, and Chelsea is still at that level, it makes it easier to negotiate and get involved if you are interested. And I think these are little things that are important in, you know, potentially having good relationships with clubs. If you don't have good relationships with clubs, they won't entertain you. They never will. And if not just that, when you look at us in the past, we just looked very slow in our negotiations, the way Marina sort of done things, and, you know, it was always sort of dragged out. And I don't know. I feel like it's going to be different in this way. We will have a new sporting director, by the way, as well. And that will change ultimately because they will have different ideas of how they approach the markets, whether it's Mr. Edwards or Mitchell, one of them, maybe some others as well. This talks about Maxwell from PSG and some others. We'll have to wait and see. But in the short term and what Boehly's doing so far, good. Very good to see. But we need to see more of it. And I keep saying about having a smart window. And this is very smart business for 40 million euros. This is ridiculous. It's what, 34 million sterling plus add-ons? That for Koulibaly. It's ridiculous, isn't it? When you think about it, it's a crazy deal. And Sterling for 45 mil is fine to me. I have no problems with that as well. It seems like he's trying to be smart with his money, and the fact that he pulled away from De Ligt and didn't get forced into spending that money. You know, the fact that he kind of overpaid on Rafinha and committed to it to a degree, but at least his intent was there. You know, bang, there you go. We'll give you the money up in front. And even Leeds were like, what? You're going to give us the cash straight? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's why Leeds didn't want to sell to Barca, because Chelsea had made it so hard with the package. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who else we look at a later stage on this one. But Koulibaly could be announced as a Chelsea player, I think, as early as tomorrow. I honestly think if it's not today, I think it could be tomorrow as well. Whether he starts training from tomorrow, I don't think he'll play over the weekend, but I think you'll see what we saw with Sterling yesterday, which is, you know, mixing with the players and you know, with the kit on and walking around and shaking hands and talking to people, and you know, maybe get a bit of training in here and there, light training. So interesting stuff, guys. Interesting stuff to watch out on Koulibaly. Now let's talk about other options, because there is one person that seems to have maybe took over on the whole Ake thing, and it seems like Kimpembe has become the next priority for Chelsea. He loves Tuchel and wants to work under him. Kimpembe is much more advanced than Nathan Ake, with Chelsea and City still apart on agreeing a fee. Jules Koundé does still remain an option for Chelsea. My boy. My guy, we're not giving up on my man, the crown jewels, man. Get the crown jewels. See, preferably to me, Charlie, I'd get Koulibaly, I'd get Koundé, and I'd get Kimpembe. That's what I would do. Like, that would be the ultimate goal. But then, how much do you spend on them players? Do you know what I mean? So, what are your thoughts on Kimpembe? Because I'm a little bit mixed, so I'll let you go first.
I've got to be honest, mate. Like, I think he's a good player. I've not watched loads of him with him playing in France. Obviously, seen him a lot when he's played in Champions League football. I think he's a decent defender. You know, I don't think he's like, you know, ripping up any trees and he's like phenomenal. But for me, Tuchel's got a working relationship with him from his time at PSG. They've worked well together. He obviously is a big fan of his. I think the wording was he was a key target at left centre back, Kimpembe. So it would appear that, you know, he'd very much be taking that left centre-back role as and when he does arrive. Are there better options out there? Yeah, quite possibly. But for the sort of money, I think it would be around £50 million, including the add-ons. PSG obviously open to selling, and that would obviously clear a space for them to bring in Milan Skriniar from Inter as his replacement. Kimpembe, it's not one that excites me. Do I think he's an amazing player? Not really. Is he good? Yes. Would it be an upgrade on what we've got currently? Yeah, it would be. But at the end of the day, mate, if Tuchel thinks he's right for the team and he's right for the system, then I trust that and I back it. But yeah, it's not. I don't know. It's not the most exciting, really. But I guess, you know, it could turn out to be a very good piece of business in the end. But yeah, I'm not sure if PSG are happy to let him go. Is he their best centre back? No, Marquinhos is obviously better than him, but. Yeah, I think he's okay, mate. He's come through the academy there and he's done well. I think he's a World Cup winner of France as well. It's not, he's had a decent career so far. So yeah, I'm not against it, but I don't know an awful lot about him.
Yeah, I would probably say that I've seen quite a bit of him. I wouldn't say loads of him. And what I have seen of him, I do feel that they're, you know, experience-wise, decent player, solid, naturally fits in the Tuchel system when you think about the position that he would take up, maybe left centre back. He can play central back as well if we go into a back four. The only thing with him is that, remember when we used to look at Kurt, I don't know how you felt about Kurt Zouma, but when I used to watch Kurt Zouma, I always used to think that there was quite a lot of talent there, but he always had that like clumsy error that could just lead to something really stupid in him and just do something stupid. Like, that's how I feel about Kimpembe. Like, he has that moments of just where he lacks concentration, or he just makes the wrong decision, and we get caught. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't sign him. I'm just saying that, yeah, I get it. I actually prefer to have him more than Ake, personally. Yeah. I would. But I don't know. He doesn't excite me as much as the Koulibaly one. for example, if that makes sense, or even a Jules Koundé, if we was to get him as well. But the Jules Koundé, just a quick one on Jules Koundé. This surprised you that it's just kind of fizzled out, because when you look at the current, well, when you look at the current crop of centre backs that Chelsea are currently looking at, Ake, Kimpembe, Koulibaly, these are all players that play off the left. Why are we getting so many players sort of in that position? I know some people say Koulibaly's right-footed, he can play off the right, but his natural position has always been off the left side. So, what's your thoughts on Jules Koundé not really being aired on it?
Mate, it was a big surprise to me, because, it should have happened last summer. It didn't. And then, you think, right, well, if any deal is going to be done first, like Koundé, surely a slam dunk. Personal terms have been agreed for ages. We know the fee that Sevilla want, about 65 million euros, which is about the 55 million pound mark. We know what they want. Why was the bid not put in and job done? For me, it's a clear indication that Koundé has slipped down the priority list in terms of where he is in Chelsea's list of targets. He was at the top, and now you're seeing that he's maybe far down as fourth or fifth, and it does really surprise me, because again, 23 years of age, a very good centre back, can play right back as well, so could, again, like Ake would, he can kind of double up and provide cover for two positions. So I'm really surprised, because all indications were that he'd be the first one in, and it should have been such an easy deal to get wrapped up. So I can only think that, obviously, the stuff coming out that it was more a kind of a club-driven target via Marina, rather than, Tuchel being really keen on him. I mean, Tuchel, by all accounts, wasn't dead against it, but he certainly, obviously, isn't Tuchel's first choice. But I'm very surprised, because for me, mate, this is a deal that should have been wrapped up weeks ago if he was going to come to Chelsea, because it would have been so easy to do.
Yeah. So we had this breaking. So this literally come out a couple of seconds ago via Santi JFM, who's just come out saying that Thomas Tuchel spoke with Kimpembe recently over the phone to present him with the Chelsea project and his plans for him. He feels extremely well in Paris, but if he leaves PSG, he prioritises a move to England. What do you get from that?
I guess Tuchel just trying to get in his ear and convince him to join, I suppose, pretty much. He obviously wants the player. I think it's kind of par for the course, really, that managers get in touch with. I mean, particularly in Tuchel's case, he'll know Kimpembe personally from their time together. He's really already got his phone number, etc. He'll just give him a ring or whatever. I just think it's, again, another step in the direction of just trying to shift the move along, persuade him to join. I think it's just another one of those sort of man management things, kind of trying to add a bit of a personal touch.
I can see there's a bit of a mix of feelings in the chat in regards to Jules Koundé. But these things are annoying, because that just tells me you don't watch Koundé. You don't watch it. They generally just don't watch him. When they say comments like that, I'm just like, if you don't like a player, explain it, but don't say because it's his height. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's fair enough. Fair enough. People have their own opinions. Sounds like Kimpembe wants a proper price increase to join. Listen, don't rule out Jules Koundé not coming to Chelsea, because it's gone a bit quiet. Yeah, if we don't get Kimpembe because PSG, let's just say he has discussions with PSG, it seems like from there he wants to stay in Paris. Like, he generally will stay. If they still want him, he'll stay. But if PSG want to sell him, then he will come to Chelsea, is what I've got from that. So if he does stay for another season, and then I feel Ake news will heat up, do not be surprised if that third centre-back is Jules Koundé. That's all I'm going to say, And I know Barcelona are supposedly interested in him and trying to pluck him and this, that, and the other. Maybe Chelsea are just going to do what Barcelona done to Chelsea, which is they know that he wants Chelsea, and then let them have a full agreement, which is what they got at the moment. So personal terms are agreed. There's no agreement between the clubs yet, Barcelona and Seville. And Chelsea just go, I'll bang Seville, there you go. And he goes, all right, I'm going Chelsea. See you later, Barcelona. Like, that would not surprise me. That's what I'm saying. It could happen, guys. Like, anything can still happen at this point. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Sounds like Quebec wouldn't say pre-up. That's what Couch was saying. Ciao, Koulibaly. That's must be an Italian guy, because I can't read that one bit. But yeah, big up to you, my man. He has a very good lead, but I don't see the logic of having him and Ake at centre-back. Are they talking about Koundé? Must be. I get it from the degree of the height thing, and people go, oh yeah, but it's a height thing, this, that, and the other. We're not going to have much height. But barring corners, a lot of teams these days play out from the back. I keep telling people this. Burnley have left the Premier League. They're not going to be hoofing balls up the pitch anymore. In it, though, in general, when you think about it 10 years ago, it was all about playing the long ball over the top to Drogba or whatever, or Shearer or whatever. You know what I mean? It was always about just going long. It wasn't about that technical play out from the back and whatever. It seems like teams now look to play more of out of the back and, you know, work their way up the pitch more than just play that sort of Sam Allardyce, Andy Carroll up front, just hoof the ball up the pitch. Do you know what I mean? Sort of football anymore. I don't know many teams in the Premier League that do that right now.
But the game's evolved. Like, don't get me wrong. In certain games and certain points in certain games, if you are like under pressure and whatnot, you will see like the sort of the old school long ball come into play. But it's football very much now. All the top teams is build up and patient play from the back, and it's just the way the game's evolving essentially.
100%. Someone said Pies has commented. I mean, I haven't brought it up because it's to do with Rafinha, but basically I'll cut it short. Basically, Tuchel's interest in Rafinha was with a view of him also offering right wing back cover. Does that surprise you? Because I thought that would have been the case anyway. To be honest,
no, it doesn't surprise me, mate. Because we've seen him play Callum there as well, so it wouldn't be a surprise. No, I just hope Sterling don't play there.
No, believe me, no, I don't think so. I don't think Sterling would have signed that contract knowing that he's going to be played all the way back there. Do you know what I mean? That makes no sense. We've just reviewed. I know some people are sending me DMs at the moment with messages and whatever else at the moment. I've seen the message. I've already just gone through that one, Matty. Big up to you. Still over 930 of you guys here, but the question is, how many likes have we got? We've got 161 likes with 350 people on GNA TV. Guys, this should be over 200 likes. If you've not hit that thumb, let's do it now. How quick can we get this over 200 likes on the GNA TV side of things? Come on, guys. Let's get this over 200 likes. On the Chelsea Fan TV side, we've got nearly 600 of you guys here. Big up to every single one of you guys over there. You got 335 likes. I think you could do 400, guys. I think you could do 400. This show, like we said, is built around just bringing you guys updates, any break-ins on any players coming in, our thoughts. We'll go through positional breakdowns. We'll talk about how we think Tuchel will utilise them as well. There is potentials that we will do match reaction shows to the pre-season games over at the USA. Obviously, not straight after because it will be an early morning thing, but obviously on later on in the day for the UK. We also have this. Chelsea's target Kimpembe had the best pass success rate in Europe's top 5 leagues last season, Charlie. 95.5% pass success, better than any other player. And funny enough, 3 of the players on there are of French players as well. But yeah, I mean, again, that probably answers the question as to why Tuchel wants him, right? Because ideally, we need players that can, play out quite comfortably, if that makes sense, from the back.
Yeah, it's certainly an impressive stat. But one thing I would say about particularly pass success rate stats is the fact that it doesn't specify what sort of passes they were. I mean, if you're just literally passing it to the person next to you a couple of meters away, you're not exactly going to fail those passes. So it depends what kind of passes you'd be taking. But yeah, you'd certainly rather be towards the top of that list than not. And again, progressive with the ball, good passer is what you want from your centre-backs now. Centre-backs have got to be good on the ball these days.
100%, mate, 100%. And I think that's the one thing Tuchel will, and he even said himself, the reason they're not looking at people like Ronaldo and others at the moment is because they're concentrating on the centre-backs. Centre-backs are so important. And once we've got such a sturdy defence again and a reliable defence again, I think then we will look to try and improve the attack. And also it depends on who's staying, who's going still. Werner's still there. Pulisic's obviously still there. Ziyech's still there as well. So there's a lot still to happen at Chelsea, isn't there? And I think there's going to be a lot more like surprises along the way. Yeah. I don't think we're nowhere near done yet. I think you might see some players go. We've still got contracts to sort out with certain players as well. It's who else is going to be linked to the club, and who's going to be the next sort of out the blue. Chelsea have just put a bid in. Do you know what I mean? Like the way it happened with Koulibaly that Todd Bowley's done it. It's just going to be a crazy summer, isn't it, Charlie? For us?
Mate, it could literally be anyone. As you say, there's still so much to do. Look, 2 have come through the door now, but it's clear that we still need at least another 3 or at least another 2, 3, 4 players. There's so much to do. There could be some curveballs coming in. You could just suddenly be out of the blue, just linked with the random someone. A big goes in, bang. But the most important for me as well, mate, is those outgoings also. There's a lot of players that we need to move on as well. Some are going to be harder to get rid of than others. there's still a lot of work to do because the squad is massively oversized at the moment, and that's got to be trimmed down. They've got to reduce the wage bill as well.
One question. I mean, there's a quick image here of Kimpembe in an LA Dodgers shirt. It's funny how people find these things, don't they? Especially when the players link to our football. It's like, oh, look, he's wearing LA Dodgers shirt. It's good. More reason it's going to happen. Interesting stuff. I wanted to just quickly talk to you about the whole squad at the moment and your thoughts on the midfield at the moment, because that's one area that a lot of Chelsea fans, especially on social media, are going crazy about. You know, if we're ever going to progress and become that better team, we need better DM, we need better progressive sort of midfielders. It doesn't seem like there's many options there. We miss out on Tchouameni. Obviously, what's his name? Kamara went to Aston Villa. Declan Rice is extortionately overpriced. What's your thoughts on the whole central midfielder element of Chelsea?
Mate, it's an interesting one because, you know, as the season ended and the window, we're heading up towards the window, like everything coming out was very much that midfield was a big priority for Chelsea. And yet, you know, other than Declan Rice, there's not been links with anyone. There was that kind of Frankie de Jong stuff, which I think was just Barca trying to get, in the Spanish press, just trying to get Man United to sort of get a bit of a shift on. But other than that, mate, we've not been linked with anyone, you know, and within the squad, the midfield is massively overpopulated at the moment. You know, we've got Kante, Ruben, Kovacic, Jorginho. I mean, add Gallagher back into the mix, come in. Gilmore come in. We've got Ampadu coming back. There's Jorginho as well. There's about 7-8 names in there. And if we stick with a pivot system, there's only going to be 2 starters in that position. You know, players are going to have to leave from that midfield. It's going to be interesting what we do. You know, if we switch formation, they're going to have to go. We do need kind of an out-and-out proper 6, as it were, a holding midfield player. You know, I see people on Twitter saying that, oh, maybe Ampadu should be given a chance there. Yeah, maybe he should, but is he of the required quality to play holding midfield for Chelsea on a regular basis? I mean, I don't think you can make that argument for him right now. But it's a really interesting thing because the way I see it is, mate, if Declan Rice is a no-go this summer, he's clearly, everyone knows he's Chelsea's number 1 target. Tuchel wants him. Rice is the number 1 target. The money is going to be extortionate from West Ham, for sure. But if there's an opportunity to get Declan Rice, say, next summer, is there any point just bringing someone in for the sake of it this summer when we know we can get Rice next summer? You know, I think with what we've got in the squad, we can probably get by this season coming up without adding anyone there and then bring in who we really want in Rice next summer. Because at the moment, as you say, mate, there's just no links to any midfield players at all. And it's even gone pretty quiet on the Rice thing as well. I mean, part of me thinks, why don't they just literally put 85 million pounds down on the table, maybe include Brozier in the deal as well and just see what they say. But other than Rice, mate, it's quiet. There's absolutely nothing whatsoever on any other midfield players.
Yeah, I'll put a poll out on the GNA TV side of things, guys. If you can, go over the Chelsea Fan TV, guys. Go over to GNA TV and vote. I can't put it on the Chelsea Fan TV site, but there is a poll running. I'll just ask the question: do Chelsea need to sign a central midfielder / defensive midfielder this season? That's what I want to understand from people, because if people are going to say yes, then the next question for you guys is going to be who. So think about it before you actually vote it, yeah? Because I want to know what people are going to say on the backs of that as well. Listen, I've made it very clear that if we're going to sort of switch into the 4, we do need a sort of a DM, someone that can be progressively good on the ball. Declan Rice for me is just well too overpriced. I will never spend 100 million, 120, 130 mil on Declan Rice. If we can negotiate a 60, 70 mil deal for him, even at that push, I would say, fine, do it. I think the whole, for seeing this craziness that I see on Declan Rice, I think it's a little bit out over the top for me. Like, you know how people are very like, he's the key, he's the answer. I think he's a good player, Declan Rice. I do. I think he's got a lot of ability. Top player. But I wouldn't call him world class. And when you're going to spend that kind of money on a DM or whatever, or a midfielder of Declan Rice's, for that kind of money, then you want a complete midfielder. You want a player that's played Champions League football, that's played a ton of international football, that's won things, that's done this, that, and the other. Declan Rice has played for England, and let's not even get into England because we know what they're about. Yeah, West Ham, you could argue he's excelled them into the next level, 100%. I agree. He's done quite well there. But when you look at the whole package, yeah, he has the quality. Don't get me wrong. But for me, he's still not that complete player. like Casemiro style, or does that make sense? Or a Busquets sort of. I know he's different to them in his ability, but I don't think he's there yet. And maybe he does need that move to a bigger club to then show us that he can be there. But I just feel that you've got to get it. You just got to get that value right. You've got to get the price right. If you don't get the price right, then, you know, ultimately, there's going to be a lot of pressure on a player of his age to come in and perform straight away. And not to say that he won't, because he'll be playing with better players. But do you get what I mean? It's just a lot of money, isn't it? At the end. So
it's a phenomenal amount of money for someone that, yes, is Premier League proven, but this is a guy that's not played any Champions League football. You know, let's make that clear as well. I'm not saying that he wouldn't be able to make the step up to that level. I'm pretty sure he could. But, you know, a guy that's played no Champions League football, maybe 1 or 2 seasons of Europa. Yeah, you know, he's done well for England and stuff. I do think he's a very good player, and he would improve Chelsea short term and long term. But as you say, mate, you know, I think we've got to put the days behind us of just chucking money at players. You know, I think we've got to have a limit on, like, look, this is how much we'd be prepared to pay. If, you know, West Ham aren't budging on that, let's either move on to someone else, or let's wait a couple of years when his contracts run down a bit more and we'll be able to get him for cheaper. But I do think, like, ultimately, if we do really want him, if the club really want him and Tuchel really wants him, we need to do everything we can to try and get him. I think it's as simple as that for me. But yeah, I get what you're saying, mate. It's a lot of money to spend. It really is. And you could argue, are there better options out there for the money? Maybe. But I mean, it's one personally I would like to see come in. But I've got to be honest, I just can't see it happening this summer.
Someone just said Kimmich. We ain't getting Kimmich, Aaron. We're not getting Kimmich, mate. Tielemans is available for 35 million. Is he the answer?
He's more creative, I suppose. Like, don't get me wrong. I think we've never replaced Cesc Fabregas in midfield. So, like, someone creative like that. I mean, I'm not saying we should have signed Christian Eriksen, but, you know, players in that mould, kind of a link between midfield and attack. Because as good as the likes of your Kovacic's are, they don't chip in with many goals or assists. There's not. If you look at our midfield, there's hardly any goals in it. Yeah,
there's no creative element from our midfield,
No.
And that's the problem. We're too heavily reliant on our wing backs to do that, and we saw that last season. And you know, we should have people like Ziyech creating. Our forwards should be creating for other forwards as well. That's the part of their game that you'd expect, but we've just not seen it, other than from Mason Mount, as much, you know. And I don't know, mate. It's going to be interesting. I agree that we need more creativity in and around that. We need people that could be more progressive. I think Declan Rice is a bit overpriced. Tielemans would give you that creative spark. I agree, but is he at the level to be playing for Chelsea? I don't know. Again, it's a weird one. But again, it'd have to be, the price would have to be right. But yeah, we'll have to see. We've got this comment here from Absolute Chelsea on Nathan Ake, and the news in and around that is that Chelsea have agreed a deal in principle to sign Nathan Ake for around 45 million, which I think is ridiculous. But are waiting for City to sign a replacement before they give Ake the green light to leave. What's your thoughts if that's true on that?
Kind of what I said earlier. Obviously, we knew the personal terms were agreed. Yes, it's a lot of money, and the fact that City are making £4 or £5 million profit on what they obviously signed him from Bournemouth. It's a lot of money, but I think what we need to realise is, and I think people need to realise that, you know, for a decent centre back, between 40 and 50 million pounds, you know, you're going to struggle to get anyone of the required quality for any less money than that. I think we just need to accept nowadays that, you know, this is the going rate for players. And as I said earlier, mate, I just think it's the fact that we're buying him back is what's annoying people. If we'd never had Ake in the first place, I don't think there'd be as much fuss about the price that we're paying. I think it's just the fact that, you know, it seems to be a rinse and repeat cycle for Chelsea where we let players go, they go and prove themselves elsewhere, and then we go and buy them back for a large amount of money. Yeah, it's a loss of money for Nathan Ake. Is he a good player? Yes. Is he worth £45 million? Is any footballer worth the fee we pay, like clubs pay for him? That's a completely different conversation. But at the end of the day, mate, as I said, for the quality we need and to bring in centre-backs, you know, to spend £45-50 million, that's just the going rate. That's just the way football is at the moment.
I agree. I just feel that he's ultimately well overpriced. If you want my honest opinion, I don't think he's worth more than 30 mil, personally. And that's purely
would
because...
Would you rather spend this £45 million on Ake, or would you rather spend about the same on Pau Torres?
See, I'm not
Because they would
I
have
haven't
both cost
watched
the
tons.
same, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't watched tons of Pau Torres, but the fact that we sold him in the
Yeah.
first place, and look, if he went to Man City and he solidified himself in that team and he become really important, he improved his game, and he was at a level where he just improved overall, and Chelsea looked at it and they were like, yeah, we want him. I would get it. I would get it, But this is a player. This is a player that's gone to Man City. All right, won the league with them. He's pretty much fourth choice. When you look at Laporte,
Yeah.
Diaz, Stones, Cancelo, Zinchenko, who else is there? Like, it's not like he's forced himself into the team and he's been great. Do you get what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just
Yeah.
feel that he's like what Fink said there. I just feel it's so overinflated, and for us to buy him for 45 mil, Thomas Tuchel must value him for that. And I can't really go against what he wants, because I was one of them people that said, I think we need to give him what he wants. We need to let him build the team he wants. Yeah. But if he sees something that I don't feel I can see yet, then we've got to give it the chance. I just feel that if you're going to spend 45 million on Sterling, why not spend another 15 mil on Koundé? Because that's what it is. Like, it's not like it's a big gap here. So unless you just think Ake's a better player than Koundé, which I just find absolutely crazy, personally crazy. But I don't know, mate. I just find it a bit. I mean, I know they're two different positions as well, but this is why I feel with Kimpembe or Ake. I don't think it's Kimpembe and Ake, because we've got Koulibaly. So I think it's either or, not both. And then maybe a wing back if we don't get a right centre back. And the only right centre back option that we got is Koundé. And obviously we've got Chalobah who's back, isn't it? I don't know any other right centre backs that are available that can come in and fit the system that we play. So we'll have to see what happens. Sammy says Kimpembe weren't even good for France, not going to lie. That's what I'm saying. Some people sort of mix with it. I don't know. He is. But again, I don't think people watched enough of him to understand it, And listen, he's not with Jules Koundé in the La Liga. Individual errors, goals that have led to himself. There's zero. He's not ever made an error that's ever led to a goal from himself at Seville once, which is quite impressive in itself. His ball movement out from the back, moving forward progressively, is very good. He's versatile. We can play in many different positions, and ultimately, I keep saying it. You want to play different systems, and I think Tuchel does want to do that. You need to buy players that can adapt and be versatile in different occasions or different teams that they play up against. So Koundé for me makes sense, and Koulibaly makes sense, Kimpembe kind of. I mean, even Ake does, because he does have that versatility to his game, but not for that money. Do you know what I mean? Not for that money. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens at a later stage, but we've still got 850 of you guys here. Big up to every single one of you guys that have been tuning into this show today. Couch is saying, Matt Law is saying the three centre backs are Ake, Kimpembe, and K2.
K squared, Koulibaly.
Yeah. Could just be a plant that could just be a plant, but that word from the source. Oh, right. I think he's just saying, he's just guessing who the three are. He thinks that he's going to get all three. I don't get that. See, that don't make sense to me. Why would you get
seems like
three
overkill,
players?
doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But who? So are you telling me that Koulibaly's playing on the right then? Because
Well, he must be, because going on from what you brought up earlier on the screen, from that same Santi J guy, he was apparently saying that in that same phone call conversation that Tuchel told Kimpembe he wanted to pair him with Koulibaly and Silva. So that would suggest that Silva in the middle, Koulibaly right, and Kimpembe left.
But then that answers my question about Nathan Ake when I said if we're buying him, is he a main two or is he just rotation? So that means
he'd be rotation. Yeah.
But then we must be getting rid of Malang Sarr. Surely, what are we doing with that guy? We don't need him.
He'll probably go on. He'll go on loan, I'd imagine.
I think Malang Sarr will go. We'll still have Chalobah there. Reece James can play right centre back. So does he see Reece James? But how can you play Reece James right centre back if Aspilicueta leaves, who I don't think's a wing back anyway? Who plays wing back if you haven't? So
we haven't got anyone.
There's so much that we're still, for me, that's uncertain. That I'm just not sure on still with it, and it's going to become very clear soon where they're going with this and what they're doing. I think we just got to wait and see what that will be. And it's going to be very interesting to see at a later stage. We'll be making sure that we bring you them shows. Once we get clarity and once we know who's at this football club, who we've signed, who's left, we will sit down and we will break down, do like a team sort of breakdown of what we think he's going to do. We'll obviously review the pre-season games as well. Some people think the pre-season will give us an idea of what he wants to do moving forward, whether he plays the 3 system, the 4. I think Tuchel's going to mix. I think he's going to mix it again. Personally, I don't think he was going to stick to either or. But we have to see what happens at a later stage. Guys, an hour and 40 minutes in. Thank you all for tuning in to GNA TV, as always. Go and follow Charlie on his channel. I'll put the link in the chat for you guys to go and check him out as well. But any final words, Charlie? It's nice having you on for the first time as well. It's a good show.
Nah, mate, it's been a pleasure to come on. Been a pleasure to be here. Always good to chat all things Chelsea. I'm just excited to see kind of what comes next, mate. We're moving fast. It's kind of, it's different times now at Chelsea. We're not used to this. And yeah, as I say, but I'm excited to see who comes through the door next, what the next links might be. But as Tuchel said in his in an interview he did, that another attacker might come in, but it's very much the priority now is the defence. And I've seen those Hoffman links as well. I think he scored against England in the Nations League when we played Germany recently.
He's
a decent player.
I've not watched enough of him again. I've seen bits of him, but I've not watched enough of him to comment on him. I know that we was linked to that Klaus as well. What happened to that?
Well, mate, apparently he's in advanced talks with Marseille. So I don't know how advanced those talks are. But again, you think 10 million euros. Like, all right, he's 30, but it makes sense. We should just go and do it. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on there really, but
100%, mate, 100%. This is your Twitter as well, isn't it? At Charlie Patrick. Yeah. So make sure you go and check him out on Twitter as well. The links are in the chat to follow him. Before you leave here, guys, GNA TV, we've got to get this up to 250 likes, guys. Come on, we can easily do that. Let's have a quick look at what we've got at the moment. Yeah, come on. Let's get another 50 odd likes, guys. We can do that. Chelsea Fan TV, still 464 of you guys. You've managed to get 400 likes, guys. Big up to you guys over there. Make sure that, again, you smash the likes. Leave a comment below as well. Give us your thoughts on the topics that we've discussed today as well. And like I said, any more breaking news that happen going forward, we will be back here to go through them and discuss them as well. And we will open up the lines as well to get your guys' thoughts and opinions on some shows as well. But big up to every single one of you guys. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day. And we will be back again very, very soon. See you later, guys.